With Tailmon finally debuting in last week's episode, Hikari is now officially a member of the Chosen Children Digidestined squad, and this episode, in my opinion, is one of the best main character connects with their Digimon subgenre of episodes that we've got for this series. There is a really compelling connection here between Hikari and Tailmon, or Kari and Gatomon if you grew up with the English dub. I'm one of those people who grew up with that dub, so forgive me if I jump back and forth with these names throughout the video. I've just been going with Kari and Gatomon for 20 years. It's a little hard to retrain my brain. But episode 34 is on the lighter side, but I wouldn't call it a filler episode or a skippable episode because of two things. One, because the Hikari and Tailmon relationship playing out on screen. Two, being the information we got on this FAGA place that Tailmon is leading the team towards. It turns out when Millenniummon was defeated in that last Digimon war, it broke up into several pieces of crystal that scattered throughout the digital world, but the biggest of those pieces landed in this place known as FAGA, and Digimon compelled by power have gathered here like the Gatomon we saw last week. I'm really curious about that name, FAGA. It's all in caps in the subtitles. I wish I could find the comment, but a viewer of mine wrote this really interesting comment a few days ago, saying that my original suggestion that the show could be making a statement about tech usage when Devimon said that line, "Your world is our feed," and when all the people's phones were heating up in the real world and transmitting energy over to the digital world. I think it was like episode 19 or 20 or so. Anyway, this viewer commented that FAGA, it could be a cheeky nod at the big four tech giants, Facebook, Amazon, Google, and Apple, and that the bulk of the energy from our devices in the real world is getting sent to this location, hence FAGA. It's not the most polished theory, it's got some work. Maybe I didn't present it to you very well, but how cool would it be if Digimon of all series was taking a pot shot at big tech? As for the rest of the episode, this one is really about Hikari and Tailmon getting to know each other. Hikari is basically obsessed with being around Tailmon. It's incredibly cute, and it's great to see Hikari out of her shell since she's been so quiet thus far. She's genuinely found what she's looking for. As for Tailmon, it's tough because she feels that her mission is to protect Hikari, and as such, them being hand in hand all the time, it's not the best idea since when evil Digimon attack, they're going to be attacking Tailmon. So the episode kind of becomes about Tailmon accepting Hikari's love, even if on the surface it might mean she comes closer to danger. Tailmon has to trust that together they can break out of any bind, basically that they're stronger and safer together. There's a very sweet scene of Hikari tending to Commandamon that shows us and Tailmon just how sweet of a kid Hikari is. Not long after is the episode's obligatory big boss fight. You know, it's Bergermon, Greymon, and interestingly here for the third week in a row, Pegasusmon, along with Tailmon. It's worth noting the show doesn't explicitly comment on whether or not Tailmon is a champion or a rookie in the episode. I know some folks were wondering if they'd retcon things and make her a rookie or what, but the show doesn't comment on it. But that said, at the end of the episode, you do get the answer you're looking for if you stuck around for the Digimon Encyclopedia segment. The show there confirms that Tailmon is supposed to be a champion here. Hikari convinces Taichi to let her join him on Metal Greymon's back and fly closer to Tailmon during the big fight. Here's where we get to the real heart of the episode. Tailmon is initially terrified that Hikari is too close to the danger, but Hikari tells her that this is where she's meant to be, that Tailmon's been calling to her for a long time, not just since episode 1, but since she was a toddler. We get this awesome shot of kid Hikari that'll make any fan of the Digimon movie nostalgic for that first segment. I like this a lot though because it justifies why Hikari has been so quiet and seemingly focused on something else in the distance since the start of the series. She's always been hearing Tailmon's call. Tailmon recognizes that they are supposed to be side by side and that it's what she's wanted for ages. Tailmon then reaffirms that she's one of the Holy Digimon, and between this change of perspective and Kari's touch, a new Digivice spawns for Hikari. I was really glad that they did not go straight into Anduamon in this scene. I was kind of scared that they would rush into it. Instead, they gave us some more time just to see Tailmon in action and really build the foundation of that relationship. We've seen before that the Digivice can just boost Digimon like Greymon without triggering a full evolution to a new form, and it seems like that's exactly what happened here. So Tailmon and the others take down this enemy, and really that's where the episode wraps up. It's another solid episode. It's not a game changer, but it was basically the final version of those stories we got from episode 4 to 8 when the members got together with their Digimon. There was the Joe and Gomamon episode, the Mimi and Palmon episode. This was Hikari and Tailmon's episode, with a bit of lore sprinkled on top with the FAGA stuff to keep momentum going. It's a 7 out of 10 for me, no real complaints, but nothing that made me say wow. But I gotta know, what are you thinking about this episode, about what FAGA is supposed to be, and if the show is going to tie back to these comments about your world being our feed and all that stuff, and the cell phones burning up and whatnot? I was kinda into that that stuff, and I really hope they touch on that again. One more thing, I wanted to return the shout out favor and tell you about this really good Digimon 2020 podcast series on YouTube. You guys probably know Billiam already. He's made these really legendary Digimon retrospectives on YouTube covering just about every Digimon series that exists, with both a critical eye but also a total love for the series. You might not know that he's actually been covering 2020 Digimon, but he's doing it with 3 co-hosts on a podcast that covers 5 episodes at a time, roughly. It's on his second channel, Billiam B-Side. I'll link to it in my description, but anytime they drop a podcast, it's so much fun to listen to because 1, it's like you're sitting in with a bunch of friends, but 2, because Billiam is a hardcore fan, but his friends are new to Digimon, so you get this really cool dynamic where you get to see what the big moments mean for old school fans and also what new fans would think about this stuff. Billiam shouted out to Digino on the last episode of his podcast, and yeah, just a really sweet guy, so the least I could do is tell you about their podcast because I think you'll genuinely really like it. One more thing this week, I want to try and react to some of the top comments from last week's video, just a way to get you guys even more involved in this conversation, because the Digino is really not just about me. This whole project is really about you and I discussing the new show together. So here we go. Some of the best comments from episode 33. Bionic26 says, I am happy Sora is basically the second lead for now. I noticed this too in recent weeks, but really since episode 4 or so when it was Taichi and Sora in the digital world for the first time together. I'm pretty into this. I don't really have any problems with it, but I would like to see a little more personality from Sora. So far, she's always extremely level-headed and reliable, which you might think sounds like a good thing, but it's very static. I like Taichi and Sora's beef in our war game, the middle part of the Digimon movie, because it's stubborn and immature and ultimately it was very real. This Sora doesn't feel very much like a real human being to me. I'd like to see more of an emotional range out of her character. DJ Prime said, imagine if at some point Joe's arc ends with him leading an army of Nanimon. Hell yeah, if Joe leads an army of Nanimon into battle, I will take back everything I said about how Joe has been bathing for 6 weeks. It'll be totally worth it. Concerning Joe and Mimi, I liked that they showed the old playful side of the Digiworld, where every Digimon isn't trying to kill you. Yeah, I do like this too, actually. We haven't got too many friendly Digimon in the new series. So far, the majority of the Digimon we've encountered are really deadly. I think relating to the stuff between Millenniummon and the legendary Digidestined, the last sacrifice will be all the 8 kids, and then we will see the arc with Taichi's Agumon and the legendary Tamer. But this is a quick thought theory, so I won't put my hand on the fire for it. This one is fun because this commenter is basically referring to the plot of the original Digimon WonderSwan games with Ryo. In that, Agumon contacts Ryo and brings him into the digital world because the Adventure Digidestined cast has been defeated by Millenniummon, and Ryo partners up with Agumon to rescue them one by one. It could potentially be a way to follow up this 2020 series, adapting that old game into an anime arc, especially since so few people actually got to experience that story in light of the WonderSwan not being a thing in the West. It was a Japan exclusive console. So that's it. If you enjoyed this segment, let me know. Of course, leave a comment and I'll try to react next week to not just the top rated ones, but ones that are really thoughtful and catch my eye, whether or not they were liked or disliked. I read really everything. Okay, until next week, take it easy.